Hey guys, I'm the 50s Kid, and this video is going to be about suspension work, inspecting your rear suspension actually. I'm working on my E46 BMW, but this actually kind of applies to almost any vehicle out there, whether it's rear wheel drive or front wheel drive, because most vehicles in the rear, on the suspension on the rear, they have the coil and they have the strut mounted separately. So you're able to actually disconnect the strut from the rear wheel assembly, from basically the knuckle, and well, that would be a steering knuckle. It would actually be just the rear wheel carrier, in the case of the rear wheels. But you're able to basically place a jack underneath the rear suspension carrier, and you can disconnect the strut, and then you can actually push the strut in and out with your hand, and that way you're able to tell if it's doing its job or not. So even though this is a BMW, this kind of applies to almost any car out there. So let's get started. Okay, I think this is a pretty good view of what we got going on here. Obviously I've removed the tire, and this is the strut right here, otherwise known as the damper. And its job is to cushion the impact as you drive along on the road. Lately I've been having a very rough ride. When I go over bumps, it's very, very bouncy, very bumpy, but it's still very stiff. And for me, the reason this is because my springs, which you can see up here, I've got a sport suspension on this vehicle, so my springs are very stiff. So it's very hard to tell when these dampers go bad or not. That's why I'm going to test it out. You can see I've got my jack placed underneath the wheel carrier right here. I'm actually not exactly sure what you call that in the rear, but I'm bothered that I don't know that off the top of my head. But basically you can see where I've placed my jack. I'm basically jacking up the wheel. Just put enough tension on there until you see the wheel actually move up. And now you can actually go ahead and remove this bolt on the strut. For me, this is an 18 millimeter. Pretty simple. Now, for a strut to do its job, it needs to absorb the impact and then and then it needs to basically slow down when you try to push it in, and it also needs to return slowly by itself. The gas inside needs to push the hydraulic fluid back down. So if I push this up, it's actually there's resistance going up, but you can see it's not returning. So basically what that means is the gas is probably leaked out. So I'm pushing against the seal. I'm pushing this strut against the rubber seal inside, and I'm moving the hydraulic fluid from one chamber to another, but I'm not compressing any gas, and there's no gas left inside to go psh and return this thing down as I go over a bump. And that's why basically my suspension is only going on the springs for right now. Normally on a vehicle, you'd be able to tell if your strut was bad, because you can just come up to the vehicle and shake the car, push down on the car, and the car is going to shake, because most vehicles have very soft suspensions in that way. So you'll be able to tell if your strut isn't doing anything. But in my case, since my springs are so stiff, I couldn't tell that. So this is how I examined it, and this is a pretty good indication that if this strut is bad, probably all the other ones are bad. I think I might go ahead and just test the other side on the rear right here, just because it's so easy to do. But as far as testing the front struts, I don't think I'm going to go ahead and go through the trouble of that, because you need to have a coil spring compressor, and you need to get the whole spring assembly out, and it's a lot of work just to get the thing out. And by then, it's better to just have the part already and go ahead and finish the job. So rather than do that, I'm probably going to assume that they're bad as well, or if they're not bad yet, they're almost bad. So I probably will replace them. I'm just going to do all four. You should torque this down to 44 foot-pounds.